Hello everyone, I'm Vivian Kong, and then this is my project about temperature and greenhouse gas emission and the economic growth for different regions. So there are three parts in my analysis. Now my first part is finding the correlation between temperature and greenhouse gas emissions. Now in this part I put a bullet points here. Now energy contributes the most to greenhouse gas emissions, and also and I find a strongly positive correlation between the temperature and the amount of greenhouse gas emissions. And also in the greenhouse gas, the carbon dioxide played a very heavily important part of this correlation. So in this case, I made eight models, but I'm going to decide to using just a simple linear correlation between the x-axis, which is the carbon dioxide emissions in gigagrams, and the y, which is the temperature increasing or decreasing, the change. So now in this case, we find that we have if 1 million gigagram of carbon dioxide more releases to the atmosphere, and our global average temperature will expected to increase by 0.12 Fahrenheit degree. And for my second part, I'm looking for temperature and the GDP for different regions. Now I put in 7 regions, which is Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Caribbean, Europe, and Australia and New Zealand. But unfortunately, I couldn't find any statistical evidence to support the correlation. And they do have some correlation for different regions, but the correlation is not that significant. It's a pretty weak, either positive correlation or negative correlation. So I mean, it makes sense to me because of GDP, there are a lot of things playing in this role, playing behind the GDPs, not just the so the temperature may not causing the GDP increasing or decreasing dramatically. So that's why we couldn't find enough statistical evidence. So, but in that case, that change my attention to the agriculture output, because agriculture will be rely on the temperature, and agriculture is a part of our economic sectors. So that's why I find that the 3 different interesting outcomes. Now, first of all, right here is the latitude. When the latitude is between 20 degrees north and 20 degrees south, now most of the countries there are hot countries. They're very warm all year round. So and most of them I find out interestingly is they are low income and food deficit countries. So and I find that their GPV, which is gross production value, is not really correlated to temperature. There are 2 reasons behind what. Their reason behind it is because since they are warm country, so the agriculture may not develop well in those regions. So they're probably going to rely on the imports for their food. And now for the latitude above 45 degree and 45 degree S, for those countries that are more like colder countries, they have 4 seasons, but their winter probably longer. So in that case, the agriculture may not develop well either for those countries. But interestingly, I find that for those European countries which are higher latitude, like Norway, Ireland, what else? The other 2 countries I also Russia and Norway, Ireland, Russia. Sorry, let me just quickly find that what I did. Oh, France, yes, of course. Norway, France, Russia, Ireland. And I find that the correlation is a 0.21, 0.13, 0.31, 0.3, which is relatively high. So which means for those countries, they're probably going to benefit. But if I just put them in general, with 45 degree north above and 45 degrees south above, and then I find that their correlation, well, either they are benefit from the warming or they're not correlated at all. So both of them happen in the short run. I'm not sure about long run. I feel like in the long run, it will need more evidence to prove what's going on in the long run. But in the short run here, well, there are I think there are a couple reasons. Now, the first reason here is the technology. because most of countries, like for those colder countries, their GDP are higher than those countries between the 20-degree north and 20-degree south. So their technology maybe can make up for the losing from the warming. And also for those countries, as I mentioned before, since they are colder countries, so when the warming, it'll actually help them to growing or developing their agriculture a little bit better. And the third part right here is the latitude is between 20 degree to 45 N and 20 degree to 45 S. Now, most of countries, those countries are agricultural producing countries because the temperature is a kind of is a perfect temperature for agriculture growing, developing. And but in my case, I do find the hypothesis testing, I find that those countries will be hurt by warming. So all these three findings right here are using different countries and in those regions as my sample, and also I did hypothesis testing for them. You can take a look at my analysis and to see more detail. Thank you for listening.